All right, so let's get ready for the circus. Step right up, chapter 13. Let's get our act together, Mrs. Brisbane said the next morning. We need to make our final plan for family fun night. Here is a list of what some of the other classes are doing. Then she read from a sheet of paper. Clown toss game, pizza booth, juice and water booth, circus crafts, tightrope walk on the balance beam, popcorn and cotton candy, elephant rings, circus twirler craft, ticket booth, hula hoop competition, face painting, balloon animals. She stopped reading and looked up. We need to tell Mrs. Wright exactly what we're doing. Eek! I squeaked. Was Miss Mack's class really going to toss clowns? Wouldn't rings for elephants be large? And balloon animals were bound to pop and make a lot of noise. I wasn't the only one in room 26 who was confused. Are they really tossing clowns? Daniel asked. Mrs. Brisbane smiled. No, of course not. They have a big board painted with clown faces. There are openings where the mouths are, and people throw bean bags to see if they can get them through the clowns' mouths. No actual clowns will be harmed. My friends laughed, and I was relieved to say the least. Helpful Holly waved her hand, and our teacher called on her. What are elephant rings? They're this big. Felipe held his arms wide apart. No, Mrs. Brisbane laughed. It's a ring toss game. You have to throw the ring and get it on an elephant's tusk. A real tusk? Cassie looked very, very, very nervous. No, I think they're made of clay, Mrs. Brisbane explained. And they're not quite as big as real elephants. Then she asked us if we were ready to go ahead with the maze and leapfrog games. I guess so, Thomas said, if we can't do the tightrope walking. We could have the hamster toss, Nicole suggested. Just Joey raised his hand. I like the idea of a hamster obstacle course. Most of my friends nodded in agreement. I like the idea of a leapfrog game, Sophie said, and the adults competing against their kids. Most of my friends nodded again. Boing, boing, Og said. Very well, Mrs. Brisbane said. Simon's mother has kindly offered to head up a parents group to build what we need. She's a really good artist. Simon said, and Mrs. Brisbane nodded. I'm sending a note home to your parents explaining the whole thing, she said. Oh, and if your dad would like to juggle for us, Sophie, that would be wonderful. But no knives. I think Mrs. Wright would faint. Sophie looked as proud as Simon did. May I be the ringmistress? Rolling Rosie asked. Oh, I want to be a ringmaster too, Felipe said. I'll tell you what, Mrs. Brisbane said. I'll make up a list of jobs and then we'll draw names for them. It's a long evening, so we'll need several ringmasters and other helpers. But will there be a job for Og and me? Friday morning. Hurry up, Harry came into the room complaining. It's been raining cats and dogs for 2 days. Eeks, I squeaked and glanced out the window. I didn't see any cats and dogs. Thank goodness. Mrs. Brisbane reminded him that rain in the springtime is very good for green and growing things. You know the saying, April showers bring May flowers. Harry groaned. The way it's raining, those flowers are going to drown. It was still raining when Simon's mom came to pick us up. I hadn't gone home with Slow Down Simon before, but I had been to his house. His older sister, Stop Giggling Gail, had been in last year's class. Slow down, Mrs. Morgenstern said as her son rushed out of room 26 with my cage. Poor Humphrey will think he's on a roller coaster. I've never been on a roller coaster, but it can't be much worse than sliding around my cage like that. Simon slowed down, but my tummy was still a bit queasy and uneasy. Gail met us at the car. Hi, Humphrey. Oh, I've missed you. I miss you and your classmates, too, I squeaked. On the way home, Mrs. Morgenstern explained that she had started on the signs for our booth. She said some of the other students and their parents were coming over to help out. But it's raining, Simon groaned. Gail giggled. They're working out on the back porch. It has a roof. Besides, it's not going to rain forever. It was still raining on Saturday, but lots of people showed up to help. Of course, they were on the back porch, and I was in Simon's room. I was still unsqueakably curious about what everyone was doing. I dozed off after a while and was dreaming about my friends from Mrs. Brisbane's previous class. The dream was so clear, I could almost hear AJ's booming voice say, Hi, Humphrey Dumpty. That was my first nickname before the Humpster. I heard Gail giggling. Maybe this wasn't a dream after all. I opened my eyes and poked my head out of my sleeping hut. And there they were, Garth and AJ, Heidi, Saya, and Gail. At the beginning of the school year, they used to stop by and say hello to Og and me, but as the year went on, I saw them less and less. They all leaned down and smiled at me. Come out! Come on out, Humphrey! Speak up, Saya said softly. I raced out of my hut. Hi, 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 old friends! I squeaked loudly. Gail wasn't the only one who giggled. I remember when Miss Mack first adopted Humphrey and brought him to room 26, Garth said. Now I understood. I was adopted by nice people just like Thomas. I remember when Mrs. Brisbane came back, Heidi said. I remember that really well because she wasn't too sure about having a classroom hamster back then. Gail and her friends settled in on the bed and chairs and talked about me. My whole family loves Humphrey, Saya said. He is so funny. Mine too, AJ said. We wanted to keep him. They all agreed that they'd like to have me as a family pet. But Humphrey belongs to us all, Heidi said, and the kids in room 26 now. Yeah, he has a really big family, Gail said. All of us. Later in the afternoon, the parents took a break and came in to say hi to me. Heidi's mom, Mrs. Hopper, said, I understand. Our favorite hamster is here. Hi, Humphrey. Thanks, I said. I didn't tell her she had purple paint on her cheek. You're going to love your booth, she said. Sophie's dad gave me a huge smile. Poor Humphrey didn't get much sleep at our house because baby Timothy was teething. He'll have to come back again. Any time, I squeaked. Garth rushed in to check on me. What's going on? He asked when he saw all the people gathered around. We're just visiting Humphrey Dumpty, AJ said. He has a new nickname now, Simon told AJ. We call him the Humpster. The Humpster? AJ thought for a few seconds. I like it. I like all of my nicknames and all the students and all the parents. It's nice to be in such a great big family. Late in the afternoon, everybody gathered in the kitchen. Lucky for me, Gail brought me along. Mrs. Morgenstern announced, we all did such a fabulous job today. We're going to get cleaned up and go out for pizza. On Thursday morning, Daniel's dad will bring a truck to pick up everything and take it to school so we can set up. Yay, Gail said. Can Humphrey come for pizza too? Very funny, her mom said. I don't think it was funny at all. I would love, love, love to go out for pizza, even pizza with mushrooms on it. Once I was alone in the house, I started thinking about all the work they'd done on the booth. Your booth, Heidi's mom had said. My curiosity grew and grew and grew some more. I wasn't sure what the back porch looked like or where it was, but I decided to take a chance and find it. I jiggled the lock that doesn't lock and scampered through the doorway. This room had a couch and TV and bookshelves. It also had a big glass door. I was unsqueakably disappointed that it was the kind of door that slides because it was impossible for me to crawl under it. But if I stood very tall on my tippy toes, I could see the back of the porch. And what I saw made my whiskers wiggle. Wow, there were stacks of tall boxes painted bright colors and a very tall board painted with red and white stripes to look like a circus tent. A doorway was cut in the middle of the board, and over the opening, painted in big red letters, were the words, Brisbane's Amazing Animal Acts. Alongside the doorway was another sign, Do you dare to try the Humpster's Jungle Maze? The Humpster, that's me. And what do you know? My picture was on the sign. I sure wanted to try the maze, but I knew I'd probably never get the chance. There was one with Og's picture, too. It said, Take Og's Frog Leap Challenge. And there were lots of gray elephant heads on the floor. The porch had windows on three sides, and I could see that the rain had stopped and the sun was low in the sky. Everything looked fresh and green and brand new. I was about to return to the kitchen when I saw something in the sky that I'd never seen before. A rainbow, I squeaked out loud. It was just like I'd seen in pictures, a magical arch of many colors across the sky. Wow, 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 I said. When the rainbow started to fade, it was getting dark, and I realized that the Morgensterns would be home soon. I raced back to the kitchen and pulled myself up to the counter, using the handles on the cabinet drawers. It was unsqueakably hard, but I'm one strong hamster, kind of like the strong man at the circus. I ran into my cage and closed the door behind me. Seconds later, I heard the family returning. Simon burst into the kitchen and shouted, Humphrey, we saw a rainbow. I'm sorry you missed it. Not a problem, I said, as I burrowed into my bedding and quickly fell asleep.